I'm Colonel Frank Estes. I'm the commander of the 151st Theater Information Operations Group.
And my name is Carlton Jones. I'm the Command Sergeant Major of the 151 Theater Information Operations Group.
The 151 TIOG is the only information operations command in the Army Reserve. It's one of 3 commands in the reserve component, and it's one of there's only one other command outside of the reserve component, and that's the 1st IO command. So with that, we have a heavy load to carry because we do, at least nominally, we do 1/4 of all the IO support for the entire Army. But in reality, we actually do about maybe 1/3 to 1/2 of all the IO support for the Army. The TIOG is an expeditionary unit in that we deploy 45 individuals, 45 soldiers per every 9 months on field support teams that are IO planners, other IO practitioners, military deception specialists, individuals who work on social media analysis, and other individuals who specialize in information related capabilities. So the job of the FSTs when they're on deployment is to coordinate and synchronize the 13 information related capabilities. I guess that's the sum of it all. There's a lot of nuance in that. There's things like space, cyber, EW, key leader engagements. There's civil affairs, public affairs. It goes on. It's all about influencing and informing and keeping the information advantage on our side and denying it to the enemy. So, Sergeant Major.
I think you've covered all of those capabilities that we have. One of the really interesting things that we also have, I don't think the colonel's touched on a lot, is we have a very robust S2 section in which our PSYOP are heavily involved. They provide intelligence updates, in the IO environment, as well as they have several other missions such as social media monitoring in different theaters to assist in the IO world. We also conduct OPSEC. We provide training to different units for OPSEC Level 2. We support UCOM, USAREUR, as well as USARAF, AFRICOM as well. In Africa, we have soldiers assigned to special operations, both naval and Army special operations when they're downrange, and we also support an ongoing CENTCOM mission. So our soldiers are very involved with those missions. Along with those missions, they're conducting not just exercises, but they're conducting real-world missions, some of which you may see on the news and not realizing that we actually have reservists who are contributing heavily to real-world events.
Yeah, we also have a group that rotates through Tampa doing social media related analysis and just contributions there for DoD. So that's down at Tampa. So it's pretty robust capability across the TIOG. We kind of support a lot of different things. We do support about 18 exercises per year. So in addition to having 45 soldiers rotating every 9 months through various deployments, we have teams of anywhere from 2 to 10 going on various exercises around the world to support every COCOM that we have. So that's it's kind of an exciting place, truthfully, with the high op tempo. So that's why a lot of folks come here. The TIOG is largely made up of, I would say, veteran soldiers, right? So people who've had a few years in, they come to the TIOG, they get trained at a higher level specifically in information related capabilities. Officers become functional area 30. So if they've been an armor officer, they'll become a FA 30. NCOs, they become P4. So, but taking their previous experience and then going through that additional training to understand how to synchronize and coordinate information-related capabilities, they take all that knowledge to the COCOMs or to a SEAL team out in Africa or wherever it may be, right? There's a lot of places around the world that we've supported active component forces, but those active component forces do not have this organic capability. So we are that. They sometimes have contractors, but we provide the military support that they need that they would not be able to get otherwise, which is typically housed in a G39 directorate or a J39 directorate, which is information operations and special technical operations, etc. So a lot of that planning goes on and that coordination goes on there. But so we operate everywhere at from the 4-star level at UCOM, and we've done it at other COCOMs, all the way down to the tactical level, as I mentioned, with special operations teams that are operating in theater in Africa, for example. So again, we bring the ability to coordinate 13 different IRCs that they would not be able to coordinate, the organic unit would not be able to coordinate otherwise. And so that's how we contribute at an extremely high level. And our teams are highly regarded across the world.
We have, we'll call them feeder MOSs. The Intel MOSs, of course, they fit right in with our Intel capabilities. However, the PSYOP, the CA, Combat Canberra MOSs, since they are already working in that information world, we like to have those folks come to our formations where we can then send them to the Army Information Operations Planner course, the Joint Information Operations Planners course, to broaden their knowledge and so that they can become either that P4, that entry level or basic level planner, or for officers that functional area 30 qualified officer. We can and do take soldiers from any of the other MOSs. We have MOS immaterial slots, and in those MOS immaterial slots, they'd be working in our operations, and they have the opportunity to go as well to the planners course and later deploy as planners on a team. So our only real requirement is that they preferably be E5, E6 or above. We're looking for those solid mid-level NCOs, and for officers, preferably they've completed the initial tour and they've had some troop time and some time down range so that they understand how the Army works, and then they can begin to earn their chops, if you will, as a planner.
Yeah, I would add to that a couple other things. I think the TIOGs are especially relevant to combat arms officers in the reserve component, because combat arms officers, I was a field artillery officer, but the same for armor, same for infantry, ADA. Those officers there are not a lot of slots in the Army Reserve for those specialties. So they will have to go to 0-1 alpha slots if they want a career in the Army Reserve. That's a general position or a branch and material position, or they can get this specialty with 30 alpha, and they can give themselves a few more opportunities. And the other thing that we look for are folks who are willing to deploy. So obviously we only have a few slots we can train individuals per year. There's only so many training courses. We only get so many slots. So we send those folks down to the school, and when they come back, either from P4 or from FA 30, we really do need to put them into the field so they can deliver the value. Our high op tempo is such that we really cannot afford to waste those schoolhouse seats. They have to come back and deploy, because it just allows for the right amount of dwell to occur. for the rest of the unit, so that we're not violating the dwell time that's mandated within the Army Reserve. So you have to be motivated, want to go down range, and you have to be interested in broadening yourself and taking on, I would say, high up tempo assignments. I would say intellectual curiosity is a huge deal. If you're into trying to understand the Army just on your own, not what you've been directed to do, but what you yourself seek out, and you want to understand more, and you're a self-learner, both with engaging and reading various things, but also signing up for courses that maybe you don't get paid for, but you really are interested in something. So you're going to take a course here or a course there to try to broaden your your aperture, right? That really is, I think, the key. Obviously, fit individuals, people who are, they're into soldiering, right? We don't go out and run, 5 miles in the morning together, but we're also not averse to keeping our soldier ethos either. So I think as long as you have a good soldier ethos, you're intellectually curious, and you're willing to work on a team in either an austere environment or a very high demand, or very, I would say, a high stress at times environment. I don't want to emphasize that too much. It's not it's not a pressure cooker on all of our deployments, but at times it can be very demanding. And so as long as you're okay with those things, doing those things, you will be able to go to very interesting places and support things that you would read about in the news, and now you're actually participating in them. So, Sergeant Major, you probably have a few things to add.
I would say that we require, because of our customer, mature soldiers. And I know this term has been used for a different part of the Army, but we need quiet professionals. People who are okay with not being in the limelight. You'll be supporting those, at times, those tier 1 operators who are going out and putting their lives on the line based off of the information and analysis that we conduct. So they have to be professional and very competent at their jobs. And not be someone who's seeking glory or the limelight for what they've done. Just someone who can say, I'm satisfied, I did a good thing, I did a good job, and keep it moving on to the next task.
Yeah, I'm going to add on to that, though. We had a Sergeant First Class working at a combatant command, and he wrote some of the fundamental documents in a campaign plan for that combatant command. Sergeant First Class wrote those. It was signed by the SecDef of Secretary of Defense. And so, there's not very many Sergeants First Class who can say that. And so, that's not everybody, but that's some of the special work we get to do. So, so the TIOG, and the professionals that do inform and influence operations, that capability needs to grow in the reserve, in the National Guard, in the active component. The fact that we're in competition, we're in persistent competition for the foreseeable future, probably indefinitely, right? It means that the kinetic operators, the folks with the big guns and the tanks, they're not the ones that really need to be doing stuff 24/7. They do exercises, and when we have to fight wars, they fight the wars with the capabilities that are phenomenal. But the capabilities that we bring are the competitive capabilities that we are actually executing right now in real time, and that is doing things to try to ensure that we, as an American force, we obtain advantage in the information sphere. We deny those advantages to our adversaries. And that goes on, from it's not just responding to our adversaries. We are degrading their nefarious activities 24/7. We're inhibiting their nefarious activities 24/7. So we're doing the good work that we of Americans have always done, and so we're out there on the front lines doing that. As far as I think changes that are in so besides the growth, that we're certainly the Army is looking at how to what formation is most, I guess, the most optimal for information operations or information advantage soldiers. So there's a lot of different contributing capabilities there. There's EW, there's cyber, there's PA, there's some signals, some MI, right? So a lot of different folks, to include the FA30s, the P4s, all that stuff is going to get worked out. But right now, they're still, as the Army should do, they're experimenting with a few different formations and concepts right now, and leaders are discussing it. And I anticipate some sort of a change, directed change, probably in the next year or two, about what the future formations will look like. So we're a TIOG now. We may be a TIOG in the future, or we may change. But the need's not going to change. It's just going to be, we're just going to shape ourselves. We're going to form ourselves differently, organize differently, in order to support the needs that we're already fulfilling right now. So, our Major?
I think you hit it right on the head. Our formation will change in structure, but I anticipate that in the future, the demand signal will be higher for our soldiers across the board. And I anticipate our organization being somewhat larger as we go forward, because the competition is out there and it's real, and with the current structure, it's hard for the elements that are out there to keep up with that competition, and the coordinating those functions so that we are able, America is able to counter these narratives and messages and maintain the moral high ground. We will be busy.
All I can say is that we're in it. We're in it. We're in the fight when it's a fight. We're in it when it's before the fight, and we're in it when there is no fight. So this is, if folks want to come and join the TIOG, my number is I'm in the gal. They can reach me on email, right? So I'll absolutely chat with anybody between on the officer side, between captain and lieutenant colonel, and on the NCO side, they can reach out to the sergeant major. But yeah, we look forward to speaking with really anybody who's interested in doing what we do.